Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Monday, the 18th of January, comes to you from London. And the market's likely to be a bit quieter today with the Martin Luther King holiday in the US. We start by looking at the dollar index. We see here we've held on to the gains that we made last week. We are still bearish on the longer term charts. Remembering this, my weekly, my daily, and my 60-minute view of the market, long term, medium term, and short term views with corresponding point and figure targets. Taking a look at the euro, we're sitting at 120.68, so we're holding the 120 level, but the euro has just come back a bit, which is showing on that 60-minute chart. Taking a look at sterling, we're sitting at 135.30, so just falling against that stronger dollar, and against the euro, we are just holding that 112 level. So just finding some resistance there. We found that level in September and in November, proving a line of resistance there for sterling. Bitcoin sitting at $36,000, so little change here. Holding on to the gains, that's looking pretty good for a potential breakout pattern. We don't have any big upside targets on the longer term charts, so it comes down to watching the 60-minute chart. We do have an upside target here to $37,400, but nothing in terms of new highs. The S&P 500 index was down on Friday, down 0.7%, and the Nasdaq also down. US markets just struggling a little bit. The Dow was actually up, just highlighting the rotation to more defensive stocks, which sit in the Dow Jones index. And the VIX volatility on Friday was little change, sitting about 2% different. But we are just seeing the VIX potentially coming through to rise there as the markets just look a little bit more sanguine. The DAX in Germany fairly flat. Markets quite directionless without the US today, and the cash market there the same, and the CAC Quarante down 0.2%. Japan is down 2/3%, and the Hang Seng was up 1%. China looking stronger after the strong GDP numbers coming out of China. The market's looking pretty good there. The Sensex in India down 0.75%, and the Aussie market down by a similar amount. Looking at gold, we're sitting at 1830, so a little bit of recovery there. Still has work to do to get through that cloud, so that's quite key for gold. And if we look at silver, also the same there. So just looking at the need to break higher on the clouds. US 10-year yield sitting at 109, so they continued to fall back on Friday, and so that's quite key. And we saw the tech majors mostly falling. That is still the weak point in the market. Looking at the energy mix, Brent crude is up very slightly this morning, but we still do have downside targets here, and the 60-minute trend is broken, so that's quite key. The daily trend holding up pretty strongly. WTI, much the same picture, of course, so that's quite key. US nat gas is sitting at 260. Do have downside targets here, testing the floor, testing support, so looking less good there. Coal is a little bit range bound now between the sort of 65 and the $72 level, so we need a break really before we can call the next big move. And the emissions market is up by 1% this morning, but the trend is down, and we do have a downside target on the 1 minute chart. Just keep an eye on those. Gas markets falling quite heavily this morning. MVP down, reaching the targets here, so it's quite key. And if we look at TTF, much the same picture. We're falling away on gas. No big surprises there after last week's massive jump. German power is up this morning, sitting at 48.75, but we are in a short-term bearish trend. You have a new upside target there, so that might help. And if we look at the the power markets for Nordic region, we see here we're just falling away as well. So for the moment, no clear downside targets, making it quite a hard call. Watch those kicking in this week. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.